401k is under fire. Systemic failure claim. And that's why even today, there is so much resistance to reform. Did you know there's an entire family of retirement accounts? So let's talk about. Hello, my Beasley here. Now, I told y'all in a previous episode that I wasn't a huge supporter of 401k plans, right? And I promised that we were going to talk about it. So listen, no, I'm not a supporter, but I do believe 401k plans have their place. But it's my mission to educate you on the entire landscape so you understand the world you're navigating in, okay? DYK is a value add channel, an intersection of truth-telling, financial literacy, and exposing history, or letting you know about history that nobody ever explained to us. But before we go any further, as always, I want to anchor this episode with a scripture. Ecclesiastes 7:12 says, "Wisdom is a shelter. Wisdom preserves those who have it." So this episode is about giving you the wisdom we were never taught financially, the kind that actually preserves you, okay? So there are going to be things said that you did not know. For instance, did you know there's an entire family of retirement accounts? And most people really only know of two of them, right? Most people only know of the 401k and the IRA. But there are 9 major accounts that you may encounter, each with different rules, limits, and tax treatments. So here's the family breakdown. Traditional IRA, Roth IRA, traditional 401k, Roth 401k, 403b, 457b, TSP, simple IRA, and SEP IRA. But listen, we're not going to talk about all 9 today. We're going to talk about the most popular one. Like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the most famous one of all. I cannot sing, so I'm not even going to try. But the 401k, okay? So here it is. Bottom line up front, when you look at the history of the 401k, we were lied to. Straight up, point blank, period. So let's break this down clearly in a way that's easy to digest, but it may make you shake your head like, I didn't know that. So, for starters, did you know the 401k wasn't created as a retirement plan? It was an accident. The 401k came from a tiny section of the Revenue Act of 1978 that allowed employees to defer taxes on bonuses and stock options. Let me repeat that. 401ks were created as a tax loophole for executives to defer bonuses. They were not for everyday workers, not to replace pensions. It was not to become America's primary retirement plan. It was actually an accidental loophole. So in 1980, benefits consultant Ted Banner realized that IRS language could be used for regular employees, not just executives. So he created the first 401k plan in 1981. The IRS, they hesitated a little bit, but they approved it, right? And then companies immediately say, wait, we can replace pensions with this and stop guaranteeing retirement? And that's exactly what they did. Ted Banner, the man who helped create the 401k, said he created a monster. That's not a rumor. That's a direct quote. He regrets creating it. And so he spent years advocating for reforms because the system shifted too much risk onto the workers. And it was never designed to carry that weight. So yes, look at this. Banner is among the loudest critics of 401ks. He said he had no idea it would balloon to this scale. Now, he still works as a retirement consultant, and he is even baffled by what the 401k became. And listen, right? It's not just him. Forbes said the 401k has failed. Not flawed, not needs improvement, failed. So the headline basically says, look, 401k is under fire. Systemic failure claims. And this isn't just opinion, it's the truth that's been buried under decades of marketing and employer convenience. Okay? There are many congresspersons who have been trying to fight this crisis for over a decade now. And the President of the United States said, and I quote, "There will be no change to your 401k." He says it stays. So let's talk about the real reason the 401k took over. And listen, this part right here is a little personal for me. So back in 2008, when the market crashed, I lost $90,000 in my 401k, and my boss at the time lost $160,000, and there were others in the office who lost $200,000 or plus. We weren't alone. Millions of Americans watched decades of savings evaporate, and nobody stepped in to protect them, to protect us. So when people ask, why don't they make changes to the 401k? Here's the truth. Because it was never meant to benefit you. It was designed for the corporation's benefit. And then Wall Street realized they can turn it into a massive investment system, a pipeline of money flowing in every 2 weeks, no matter what the market was doing, whether it was a bull market or bear market, it didn't matter. And the real reason the 401k took over is because companies wanted out of pensions. Pensions were becoming too expensive. Okay? Companies were struggling to fund them. Corporate America wanted a way to shift the responsibility off their books and onto your shoulders. So what did they do? They replaced guaranteed income with market risk. They replaced employer responsibility with employee responsibility. They replaced stability with volatility. And that's why even today, there is so much resistance to reform. Why? Because the system works beautifully for them. Let me break it down for you just why corporations loved the 401k, still do. Pensions. Before the 401k did several things. One, it guaranteed income. The employer carried the risk. The employer paid you regardless of markets, right? And there was stability for workers. After the 401k, no guaranteed income, no employer liability. You bear all market risk, okay? Employers only match while you work. So from a corporate standpoint, pensions equaled debt, while the 401k equals just a simple payroll expense. So in the 1980s and 90s, pensions were frozen, 401ks took over, and all retirement risk shifted to workers. So then Wall Street enters the picture, and mutual fund companies realize that every paycheck equals automatic investments. Automatic investments equals trillions in assets, which adds up to permanent fees. They lobby hard to expand contribution limits to promote 401ks as the retirement plan. And today, over $7 trillion sits in 401ks, and the average worker pays hundreds of thousands of dollars in lifetime, over a lifetime, in fees. All right. So let's look at this. What was the quiet trade-off? What was the quiet trade? Right. Well, workers lost guaranteed income, They lost inflation protection, longevity, security, right? While workers gained, they lost all that, but they also gained market exposure, personal responsibility, and uncertain incomes. Executives, however, they kept supplemental pension, stock compensation, and desired comp plans. More on that later. And listen, this whole 401k takeover, it kind of reminds me of Exodus 5 when Pharaoh increased the brick quotas, but he took away the straw. The burden went up, but the support went down, and the people suffered. That's exactly what happened when pensions disappeared and 401ks took over. The responsibility shifted to you, but the protection didn't come with it. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. The 401k, it didn't save retirement. They privatized it. They financialized it and turned retirement into a Wall Street product. You didn't get a better system. You got one that worked for their favor. Yes, and when I say theirs, I mean THEIRS. The IRS. Some of you are going to get that on your way home. Okay. But here's the part most people really never connect. While companies were escaping pensions, the government was facing a crisis of its own. Social Security. Yeah, those projections were weakening. The government needed Americans to save more of their own. So corporations plus the government found a solution. And that was to shift retirement responsibility from employers to employees. So again, what was life before 401ks? Well, companies promised lifetime income. Employers carried the risk and workers had stability. After 401ks, guess who carries the risk? You do. You carry the risk. You must invest correctly. You must manage volatility. You must figure out taxes. You must not outlive your money. And when you ask HR for help, they hand you a 1-800 number. Really? So the math, it's just not mathing, right? Companies push you to save for retirement through their retirement plans. Yes and yes, yes. Yet, most Americans still retire short, even after decades of saving. And listen, I use this scripture in another episode, but it's so powerful that it's worth repeating here. Okay? And that is Luke 14:28, which says, "For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost?" That's the problem with the 401k system. Nobody ever taught you how to count the cost. Okay? To replace a paycheck using a 401k system, do you know you need 10 to 15% of income every year for 40 years? But in real life, people start late, right? They start retirement late. Life happens. Wages don't rise fast enough, and most households save only 68%. That mathematically guarantees a shortfall. So the math ain't mathing. And then there's market volatility, right? When the market crashes, your money goes down. And no, you can't say, "Oh, I'll just get it back." That's a whole nother episode by itself, because you're not getting it back. And I'm going to show you why you're not going to get it back. Okay? Then there are fees. More fees, and more fees. Typical 401ks have fund fees, admin fees, and a small 1% fee can consume 30 to 40% of your lifetime returns. And when we talk about longevity and healthcare, well, let's talk about how those two factors can destroy your plan. And here's what most people are facing. They live longer than expected, which is great. They face rising medical costs, okay? But the 401k doesn't grow when you're 85, they only shrink. And so the real result most Americans end up with is relying heavily on Social Security, which can be taxed. That's another episode also. Then you're left with a small 401k and no guaranteed income. A combination that cannot support a long, stable retirement. That's why so many seniors return to the workforce. Not because they want to, but because they ran out of money. And Secure 2.0 just makes it worse. Automatic enrollment and automatic contribution increases. It sounds good. Yeah, it sounds good. But they push people deeper into the 401k system, the same system that doesn't deliver reliable retirement security. And the uncomfortable truth is 401ks were never built for the average worker. They were built to cut employer costs, create investment assets for Wall Street, and to shift risk to workers. Okay? Even the disciplined saver falls short because the system was never designed to help them. It was never designed to help them win. Now, I'm not badgering 401ks because I do believe they have their place, but you must diversify your financial portfolio. And there is a solution, a tool most professionals overlook because they were not taught. But when you know better, you try to do better, right? So I'm giving you the know and do better tools and strategies, right? The strategy the wealthy have used for decades, and I'm going to give it to you. So I want you to come back next week and I'll show you how the wealthy avoid this 401k trap and how you can too. Until next time, keep moving forward, one smart choice at a time. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share this video with others. Turn notifications on so you never miss a value add moment. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you, and as always, be blessed and be a blessing.